One thing we would reverse if we were in government is the wage gap with Australia going the wrong way. We'd try and reverse that. Can I say, well, actually, we did reduce the wage gap, if you have a look at the stats. It's amateur hour at the moment on the government benches. Amateur hour. One mistake after another by their Minister of Economic Development. Poll-driven politics now coming apart at the seams. And what have we seen in the last 2 weeks? Well, we've seen the government at last being pilloried by the media for the vacuous nature of their promise to catch up by Australia by 2025. And why are they being pilloried? Because all of a sudden, we heard all these metaphors relating to horses. Well, unfortunately, the stable's empty for the National Party when it comes to policy ideas that will bridge the gap between New Zealand and Australia. Let no one forget that the big mantra at the last election from the National Party was that they were going to close the wage gap between New Zealand and Australia. They said they'd do it by 2025, and we were always suspicious by that as being flaky because, of course, by 2025 they will no longer be in this House, they will no longer be in government. In my lifetime there has never been a 15-year government. In democracy there's a change inside of 15 years, so they will not be here to be held accountable in 2025 as to whether they've achieved that target. And so this country deserves milestones against which they can be judged. Have we got any? We have none that they will commit to. We even had Jerry Brownlee admitting at Select Committee a few weeks ago that they had none and they intended to have none. And that's why the opposition has been asking them about what their plan is. We've had all sorts of insignificant ideas that have come to nothing. Some of them are good, worthy things. A cycleway. Who disagrees with a cycleway? But it's not going to bridge the gap between New Zealand and Australia. Neither is the next cloud that the Prime Minister hopped on. And let's not forget that it was his deputy, Bill English, that said that John Key's a man that hops from cloud to cloud. And he said that at a National Party conference and was taped by someone, and to his embarrassment it was played back publicly. He said John Key just flits from cloud to cloud, and we know that it's true. So his next idea after the Jobs Summit, which didn't produce anything, was some idea that we're somehow going to have Chinese investment in New Zealand broadband. Well, we know that that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. New Zealand has to pay for its own broadband. And even if the Chinese did pay for it, we'd be paying them the profit stream. What was his next idea? Well, we're going to become a financial services hub for the world. Well, look, Australia, who's got far better savings than New Zealand, that is the big difference between New Zealand and Australia. It's savings and depth of capital markets. It was never mining. They've got bigger, more deep capital markets. If anyone's got a chance of being a financial services hub, it's Australia, not New Zealand. Great ambition, but when we asked the Minister of Economic Development as to whether he'd brought any cabinet papers forward, and he said, ministers are still talking about it. I.e. effectively no progress on that one either. And then we had, of course, the doozy of them all. The step change was going to come from mining and national parks. Mining and national parks. Mr Brownlee was forced to back down on that. They didn't just scale that back, they abandoned that ambition completely. 2 points to be made in respect of that. It was never going to be the step change in the New Zealand economy. The difference between the New Zealand and Australian economies, according to analysts arising from mining, is around 10%. He never had a plan for the other 90%. He now doesn't even have a plan for that 10%. It is amateur hour. And then we have Mr Brownlee coming down for question time. Leader of the House, ill-prepared for questions. Can't even answer the question as to what the gap is between New Zealand and Australian wages. Couldn't even estimate it and couldn't even tell you whether it was going up or going down. Actually, he did tell us that. He told us it was going down when plainly it's going up. Even on the government's own massaged figures where they adjust the official statistics and try to introduce purchase price parity, it's still gone up by 14%, the gap since the election. The reality is, using official statistics, the gap has gone up by over $50. It's an amateur hour on the National Party benches.
Joe Goodhue.
Tēnā koe, te mana whakawā. I wish to begin my